These two dogs refused to leave the baby's side. And when the cameras finally revealed why, the truth was more terrifying, more unbelievable, and more heartbreaking than anything the parents ever imagined. The story begins in a quiet, sunlit home where Sarah Andrews had just welcomed her first child, little baby Lily. Sarah had always trusted her two German shepherds, Atlas and Nova, with everything: her home, her safety, her peace of mind. They were gentle, well-trained, and loyal to the core. When Lily arrived, Sarah expected them to be curious, maybe protective, maybe a little jealous. But nothing could have prepared her for what they became: shadows glued to Lily's tiny form, guardians who refused to leave her side even for a moment. At first it was cute, endearing, even sweet. Atlas would sit beside Lily's bassinet, ears perked, eyes soft. Nova would curl her body near the baby's blanket, tail thumping whenever Lily cooed. But within a few days, their behavior started changing. The sweetness vanished, and something else took its place: tension, alertness, a strange, trembling fear that Sarah couldn't understand. Whenever she lifted Lily from her bassinet, the dogs followed so closely that she tripped over them. Whenever she set Lily down on her playmat, Atlas would shove his massive head under Sarah's arm, nudging her hand away. And Nova would whine relentlessly, circling Lily as if trying to block the whole world from reaching her. One night, at 2:43 in the morning, the sound that ripped Sarah from her sleep made her blood run cold. A deep, rumbling growl from Atlas echoed down the hallway, one she had never heard from him before. Not in all the years he'd lived with her. Nova barked next, sharply, frantically, like she was warning someone or something away. Sarah shot out of bed and sprinted to the nursery, her heart hammering so hard she thought she might faint. She burst in through the half-open door, breathless, and what she saw made her stop dead. Both dogs were standing over Lily's crib, bodies stiff, eyes fixated on the wall behind it. Their fur stood straight up, their ears pressed forward. Their muscles quivered like they were preparing to attack. "Atlas! Nova, move!" Sarah pleaded, grabbing at their collars, pulling, begging, but they wouldn't budge. They wouldn't even look at her. They stayed locked onto something she couldn't see. When she reached into the crib to scoop Lily up, Atlas lunged, not at Lily, but in front of Sarah, blocking her as if pulling Lily away was dangerous. "What are you doing?" Sarah sobbed. "This isn't you. What's happening?" When she finally managed to get Lily out, both dogs positioned themselves around her, Atlas in front, Nova behind, as if escorting her out of the room. Sarah felt her heart tightening in her chest. Was something wrong with them? Were they becoming aggressive? Or was something else happening? Something she didn't yet understand. The fear gnawed at her until she couldn't take it anymore. Exhausted, alone, overwhelmed, she needed answers. Answers she couldn't get by watching the dogs. Answers she could only get by watching what they were watching. So that night, with trembling hands, she set up an extra high-resolution baby monitor camera facing Lily's crib. She prayed she wouldn't see anything strange. She prayed it was all in her head, but deep down, she had a sickening feeling it wasn't. The next morning, after a night filled with broken dreams and jolting awake every hour, Sarah finally picked up her phone and opened the camera footage. She started from 2:00 a.m., when everything had seemed calm. Atlas was lying near the crib, Nova pacing slowly. Nothing strange. At 2:31 a.m., both dogs suddenly lifted their heads in perfect unison. Their ears perked, their bodies stiffened. Sarah leaned closer to the screen, her mouth falling open. At 2:33 a.m., Atlas crept toward the crib, nose twitching rapidly. Nova moved behind him, tail tucked so tightly it nearly disappeared. And then, at 2:34 a.m., it happened. The blanket covering Lily shifted. Not a tiny shift from her breathing, not a twitch. It raised. It moved. Something under the blanket slid across Lily's legs. Sarah's breath hitched. Her stomach dropped. She pressed her shaking hand to her mouth, eyes wide with horror. On the screen, she saw Atlas suddenly lunge and grab the blanket gently but urgently with his teeth, pulling it back from Lily's body. Nova stepped forward, nudging Lily with her nose to wake her. And then Sarah saw it. A long, black, slick body slithered out from under the blanket, over the edge of the crib, and onto the floor. Sarah screamed. She nearly dropped the phone. One thought consumed her entire being. A snake. A venomous snake had been inside the crib, on top of her baby. She grabbed Lily and ran outside, barefoot, panicked, screaming for help. Neighbors rushed out of their homes. 2 retired military men stormed into the nursery. Minutes later, one of them shouted, "Found it!" He emerged pale, shaking, holding a sealed pillowcase containing something that writhed violently inside. What kind is it?" Sarah stuttered. He looked at her with an expression that said everything before he spoke. A black widow tick snake. Venomous, lethal, silent. If it bit your daughter... He didn't finish the sentence. Sarah collapsed to her knees, clutching Lily to her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. The weight of what almost happened crushed her lungs, her legs, her heart. But the nightmare wasn't over. What haunted her most was the possibility, no, the likelihood, that the snake had been coming into Lily's crib for days, and she never knew. Her dogs did. They had been fighting a silent battle every night, protecting Lily without waking her, containing the danger without hurting the baby, shielding her from something Sarah hadn't even imagined. The next day, she took Atlas and Nova to the vet, desperate to understand their behavior. Why hadn't they attacked immediately? Why had they acted so strangely? The vet listened patiently, then leaned forward and said, "Your dogs weren't confused. They were calculating. They were protecting the baby without risking a strike from the snake. One wrong move and it could have bitten Lily. They knew that." Sarah felt the room spin. "They sensed it days before you did," the vet continued. "Snakes give off subtle scents and vibrations. German shepherds picked them up instantly. They weren't being aggressive. They were saving her." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "Every night?" "Every night," the vet said quietly. When Sarah's husband Ethan finally flew home from overseas, he wasn't prepared for what he walked into. Atlas sitting beside Lily's crib like a soldier on duty. Nova lying curled at the base, eyes fixed on the floorboards. When he heard what happened, what almost happened, he knelt beside the dogs, placed his forehead against theirs, and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for saving my family." Atlas nudged him softly. Nova licked his hand. It was as if they understood every word. A wildlife specialist came to inspect the house and quickly discovered the problem: a gap beneath the nursery floorboards, just wide enough for a snake to crawl through. "Without your dogs," he said gravely, "your baby wouldn't be alive. It's that simple." Sarah gripped Ethan's arm, tears pooling in her eyes. Atlas and Nova remained close, their bodies still stiff, still alert, still guarding. The specialist sealed the gap, checked the entire home, and confirmed everything was finally safe. Later that night, Sarah forced herself to watch the camera footage from the previous week. She wished she hadn't. She wished she could unsee the truth. The recordings showed Atlas staying awake night after night, his eyes locked on Lily's crib. Nova pacing anxiously for hours, nudging Lily awake whenever the snake got too close. And the snake, searching, slithering, climbing. The dogs blocked it, fought it, stopped it, every single night. Without waking the baby, without waking Sarah, without harming Lily, without letting fear stop them. Something inside Sarah shattered. She walked to the nursery, sank down beside Atlas, and wrapped her arms around his thick fur. She cried into him. "I'm sorry," she whispered again and again. "I thought you were the danger." But you were the only ones keeping her safe. Nova curled up beside them, resting her head in Sarah's lap. Atlas placed one paw gently on her knee. No anger, no blame, only forgiveness and loyalty. From that day on, the rule in the Andrews household changed permanently. Atlas and Nova's beds were moved directly beside Lily's crib, not as an option, but as a necessity, as honor, as gratitude. Because some guardians don't wear badges, some don't carry weapons, some don't speak a human language. Some guardians walk on 4 legs, covered in fur, with instincts sharper than any human could ever understand. And sometimes the things we fear are the very things saving us from what hides in the dark. If this story opened your eyes to the power of animal intuition and the silent loyalty of our 4-legged protectors, don't forget to like this video. Comment your thoughts about the unbelievable instincts animals possess, and subscribe for more real stories that will break your heart and heal it at the same time. Share it with someone you love, because sometimes the heroes we overlook are the ones standing right beside us, asking for nothing but trust.